Okay, Jay, what's your question for today?
Okay, today's question is centered around breakups. And I think that's really hard for someone who was madly in love with someone and then they got dumped for whatever reason. But we're talking primarily here about a person that you love, a person that you were building a future with, a person that you saw in your future, and now that's been ripped away from you. So that feeling, I would assume, would be overwhelming and emotional. And could that emotional pain segue into a physical pain? What are your thoughts on that?
In my opinion, of course, the pain of loss not only is emotional, but it can become physical, where you feel almost paralyzed. You don't know how to move on. And that's why it's very important to take the time to actually grieve.
And then, of course, if they're not eating right and not sleeping right, I can see where that can lead itself toward a lot of other physical disadvantages. But you mentioned a second ago about you want to give yourself time. And so when you say give yourself time, especially after heartache or breakup, would you say give yourself time by being with someone new?
I would recommend waiting. I definitely think that you need to look back on what happened. Maybe there's something that you did that you need to think about. Not that you necessarily have to change it in your next relationship, but there is no need to rush.
Okay, so earlier you had mentioned that during heartbreak, a person should take time out for themselves. How can that time that they take out for themselves best be used, in your opinion?
That would be the time that they would need to take inventory of what patterns they have brought into the relationship that no longer work.
So now, having said that, what advice now would you give to a person who needs to now tend to themselves? What are your thoughts?
Well, Jay, I recommend that they focus on their wounded hearts and take the time to allow the healing to happen with these 4 tips. Number 1, time. 2, care. 3, gentleness. And 4, a deeper self-understanding.
Awesome. Okay, so that summary was time, care, gentleness, and a deeper self-understanding. And that's really what it's all about. Susan, I cannot tell you, Susan Solo, what a pleasure it was to be on your podcast. Thank you for having me as a guest. And most of all, thank you for answering that super colossal important question that anybody out there with a broken heart can no doubt benefit from. So it was a pleasure being here, and I look forward to our next podcast. Adiosito.
Thank you, Jay.